White, gaze, great, Kaviniscus, Oki, Tansei, Tanishi, bonjour, bonjour, hola, hello. Thank you so much for being here with us on Tuesday for our outdoor learning virtual workshops. If I haven't said hello in a way that speaks to you, please feel free to connect in the chat and do that anyway. Say hi, share with us. This is our community, and we're so grateful that each and every one of you are here. Chat bars at the bottom. There's a react button. Somebody's found it. Love that. You can send us some emojis because like thousands of you are signing up for these, right? So we can't have everyone's face in a meeting, unfortunately, but we feel you. We feel you through the emojis and just through your connection and being here. There's also a Q&A box down there, so you can add some Q&A in, and there's also a show captions button. If it helps you to find this workshop more accessible, then you can have live AI captions go across the screen. All right, I'm going to dive in. It is October 21st, and we're taking science outdoors, resources, tools, and activities. Oh my goodness, my land acknowledgement is just magic. Okay, so if you've been here before, if you haven't, welcome. But I live in Snipes territory, the people of the Bull Trout, along the banks of Sinhunhuitqua, which is the Swift River. It's colonially known as the Columbia River in interior BC. That river cuts right through Chuquetmakulu, and the Okanagan Sioux travel up here, and the Tanaha are at the headwaters of that river. They call it the Mishkakis River, it means the Chickadee River. But I've just spent the last week, and the most learning that's happened to me, I have been in Treaty 6 territory. And it is the most magical place here in what is now called Banff National Park. And these elk came up when we had an amazing Indigenous speaker called Leona Prince was speaking, and all these elk came up as if they were listening. It was magic. But the person who I want to share very briefly about, who I got a chance to reconnect with today, who was our elder from the Siksika First Nation, Elder Roy Bearchief was his name, and he was telling us a story, and it's kind of fun for fall, right? It's almost Halloween. And I don't know if you know that spider webs have this kind of spooky feeling, and he gave me permission to share this. I can't tell the whole story, it takes forever, but the idea is that our learning happens in webs, spider webs, right? So what happens in one side of the web, the vibrations are felt in the other, and you might have a spider web in yourself, you might have a spider web within your immediate family, within your learning community, within your school district, wherever you are in the world, there is a spider web. And he talked about good vibrations and putting things out there. And for me, when people are doing science, firstly, I saw an enormous amount of science happening through our Indigenous speakers, through research, and also just understanding. I'm just deeply grateful for that um, phenological knowledge and for all of the things and relationships with plants, place, and land. So that's my thing. I'm really hoping that our spiderweb today and this fall is all good vibrations for all of you. I'm really glad you're here. Okay, I've been doing this. We just have 30 seconds of the caring corner. So we all have a lot going on. There's so many things happening in our lives that are intense. There's big feelings. We stand in solidarity with our birth educators who are on strike, and we recognize that these spaces are hopefully a little haven for you amongst all of the wildness going on in your world. And so we're just going to take 30 seconds to just breathe. And actually, I was in a space with Monique Gray Smith yesterday, who adapted Dr. Robin Wilkins' Braiding Sweetgrass, and she said we turn our left heart to the river and we let the river wash away anything that we don't need anymore. So if you've got any thoughts, feelings in the heart, mind, body, spirit that you need letting go of, you just got 30 seconds of the river, and hopefully you can hear it as well, washing them away. Feel free to breathe deeply. Sorry, those are mostly for me. I don't know if any of you like them, but they're mostly for me because I need them after being on the screen all day. Okay, you know that we have a bunch of fantastic learning opportunities coming up. So we have 4 seasons of Indigenous learning. It closes at the end of this week, right? This is our chance to engage in either an introduction or a building upon, building relationships with, taking action in Indigenous learning. And then whatever season of learning you're on, we all gather together to listen to these fantastic speakers this year. They are honestly some of the most moving educational spaces I've been in. So if you're interested in mind, body, spirit stuff, myself and Laura McLean are going to come together in November for 4 workshops where we're talking about social emotional learning strategies, both with an educator and a student focus. So we'll hope you'll join us. And particularly if you educate Indigenous children or you work in Indigenous communities, our Director of Indigenous Learning, Jenna Jasic, is talking about working together. So, how you can support Indigenous children through nature based learning. So, we really hope that you feel good to join. And then Monique Gray Smith, who I was mentioning, she hosts this Medicine of Stories once a month. They come together from November to February to listen to authors and creators tell their stories. And it's an amazing way to dive deeper into some different Indigenous perspectives. I've got my lovely co-host here with me.
Hello. Jay, it's so funny that you mentioned about turning your heart to the water, and I was just actually realizing all of my points of like reference in my house, I'm closest to the water. Like right now, I am sitting facing the water. My side of the bed I sleep on, closest to the water. My desk points towards the water. So just realizing I'm having that reflection right now. But
Mm.
hello. If we haven't met
And
before, my name is Rachel. I'm the education program coordinator with Take Me Outside. I am so happy that you are joining us here tonight for this awesome workshop. Um, I am from Treaty One territory. I live very close to the waters of the Red River that cut through Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Inahuac, and the Dakota, and is also the national homeland of the Red River Métis. So before we get started with tonight's workshop, I do have some things from Take Me Outside that I would love to share with you all. First up is our outdoor learning certification program. If you haven't heard about it, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity to grow your outdoor learning practice. We've had over 1,500 outdoor educators from around the world participate in this course. It's recently gone through an update to incorporate some of the first kind of cohort of feedback. It's asynchronous, 30 hours, and it's now also offered in French. So if you're interested in learning more, link is in the chat, and you can learn more about how you can take this program and grow your practice. And we've also got a brand new course also coming this November. It's the Outdoor Learning and Play for Early Years Educators. It is a brand new course specifically for early years educators, and registration is open now, and the course will be launching November 3rd. This course will kind of help you incorporate and integrate outdoor play and learning into your practice and using effective strategies and resources, all through this interactive online course for early childhood educators working with learners ages 0 to 6. And then it is Take Me Outside week. So yeah, woohoo! So yeah, we are day 2 into Take Me Outside week. Today we were joined by Dr. David Suzuki, who shared kind of just a beautiful session about how we are nature and how interconnected we are, and how we must take care of nature because nature is a part of us. And when we take care of nature, we're taking care of ourselves. So the recording of that session is on our website. We really highly encourage you to check it out, as well as some of the other amazing workshops we have going on this week. We still have 3 workshops left. They're all virtual, they'll all be recorded, so you can access them whenever best fits your time. You can pause them, walk away, come back to them. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And I do just want to highlight tomorrow is Take Me Outside Day. So we're encouraging everybody to get outside, spend some time outside, get creative, connect to nature. We would just love to hear and see how you get outside. So yeah, that's all from the Take Me Outside crew. I'll hand it back to Jade.
thanks so much, Rachel. And I'm wondering if it's because you're such a nice person. That's all the water that's just taking away all the bad stuff because you're such a
Oh,
lovely and giving human. So maybe that has something to do with it, or maybe it's just you. Okay, friends, let's see who's in the room. And I'm going to launch our poll. And we have limited boxes, right? So sometimes you're not represented in there. So you can share in the chat if you're not feeling represented there. So what kind of educator are you first? And then where are you joining us from? I did an amazing professional development myself. And our Indigenous elder asked, what is your name? Not who is your name, what is your name? As in, what makes you you? And I thought that was pretty interesting. So I wonder what is your role, or who is your role? Maybe you could reverse it. Okay, I'm going to leave it open. We've got nearly 400 people here, so unless you're all super quick typers, we're just going to give it a quick 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end that poll and share the results. Okay, educators from all across. We've got a bunch of early childhood, and I'm glad there are some higher grades. I'm hoping to give you some good science stuff for your older grades as well, something for everyone, hopefully. And every kind of educator represented, incredible. And folks from every single box. Someone's come from the rest of the world. It is very obviously North American, or what some call Turtle Island weighted in that quiz, but it's very, very exciting. Each and every one of you are making a difference, and we recognize the irony of sitting on the screen talking about outdoor learning, but that's how we get so many of you here and how we make this huge movement. And while we just whiz through the partners and supporting people who do all this work, I'm wondering, where do you connect to science most in your world? Could be work, could be personal. Maybe share in the chat. How, where are you connecting to science most in your world? In the forest, lovely. Beautiful, beautiful. And so as we do that, as maybe a waterfall of information comes in, these folks are either place specific or topic specific, and they will have resources for you. Some of them have funding, some of them have connections to people that you haven't met yet that are really important for the work you're doing. So you can find them on our website, outdoorlearning.com/partners, and it's blooming fantastic. Now, thanks for everyone sharing. Love, love, love. Beautiful. Okay, we're talking taking science outdoors, resources, tools, and activities. And I'm really sorry that our lovely friend Jessie can't be here today due to personal reasons. So she's stuck with me and Julie, although hopefully that's fun. But what I have arranged is for another fantastic friend to join us really quickly to share about some amazing work that's going on. So this human is I mean, I could give you formal bio, like 20 years, award-winning educator, teacher, mentor, been awarded to go down to Antarctica as part of the Nat Geo award. And I mean, you're a personal mentor and friend to me. So if you ever get lucky enough to come to the Outdoor Learning Conference, you'll see that Court runs, and every conference that he presents at, he runs the best sessions. Everyone wants to be in them. They're always oversubscribed. They are engaging and experiential. But he's also the kind of person that if we're looking for that spider web of who's putting good vibrations, who's putting good energy, who's putting connections in, and I've been talking to him when his students are around, when they are mirroring back that energy, that respect, that reciprocity of all the things you do for them, Court. It's magic. It's absolutely magic. So great. Honor to have you here in this space and share a little bit about your new book.
Can I get UGA to follow me around, just intro like that, like just all the time, just intro like that every time. My goodness, what an amazing opportunity, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm very lucky. I work in Treaty 7 territory here in Calgary, so hi, thanks for being here today. Just gonna show a little bit about my book, I suppose. Yeah, this is my book here, if you can see, I think on my screen. But I'm very excited to share this. This is like been a 20-year project and journey for myself. And my official launch of the book actually is this Friday, the 24th. Months ago, when I knew this was being launched, I chose this week because it's Take Me Outside week. And I know that I'm a teacher here in Alberta, and we're going through some stuff right now. So with all that being said, like actually tomorrow, because for Take Me Outside Day, I actually had planned 140 students out in the park, which of course won't happen. Maybe on their own they will, but actually on Friday, so with the launch of my book, I will be donating proceeds from every single book to TMO to get educators and students outside. So all book sales happening tomorrow. We'll put a link in the chat later on. But yeah, this book was, it was grown and built from guiding students through like wind, rain, snow, those big unforgettable blue sky days like today, and then and realizing that lessons, that connection. So, this book is part story, part reflection, part invitation. It's about how mentorship shows up on the trail through those small moments, the quiet guidance, and the people who help kind of fill our boots, and people who we are meant to be with. So, if you're a teacher, educator, leader, someone who believes in the power of connection and time outside, this book might be for you. So, again, this Friday, the book is being launched. And yeah, very excited to share it, but also it becomes a story for everyone to share with other people. So we'll put our link in the chat for them. And again, it's hopefully they donate a big proceed to me outside for other youth to get outside. But I'm always here to connect if you have any questions for me, and hope to see many of you at other workshops or potentially the big conference in May as well. So thank you so much for the space. Jay, this is an amazing team, and look forward to tonight's presentation as well.
Thank you so much, Court. Incredible. Look, here's that book again on the right there, Mentorship in the Wild. It's part personal, part practical. It's beautifully laid out if you are looking to build your skills and build relationships with students and have those moments of wonder and awe and do it in a really safe and thoughtful way. It's the book for you. Can't wait for the release. Links in the chat, and it will be available on the Outdoor Learning Store also, but you can pre-order through Court. Okay, it's Julie. I just love my job because I get to hang out with people that I really, really like so much. And maybe it's this space. I don't know. Julie's one of my favorite people, and actually spending time with you in nature. The Yukon was the last time we were in person together when we were presenting for their educators conference up there. Was your connection to birds, your connection to space, the way you go through the world is amazing. But you're also, got some formal training. You're an outdoor educator, an elementary school teacher, forest and nature school practitioner, and you're 15 plus years of leadership outdoors or with non-profit organizations, many of them connected to nature. I love that you are deeply passionate about social justice, removing barriers, increasing equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in outdoor learning, which is so important, and you do it incredibly well. And I'm going to leave the rest of it up. I'm going to let you dive in because I know you've prepared lots and lots for us. But thank you so much for being here, Julie. I'm so glad to get to hang out beside you.
Oh, well, thank you, Jade. You're one of my favorite people. It's always such a wonderful time to spend time with you, along with Court and Rachel. Court, thank you so much for your generosity and support for Take Me Outside and Take Me Outside Day. We really, really appreciate it. So yes, I'm going to dive in because I want to get you as much information as possible. So I am going to share my presentation here. And then I also want to say that I have a lot of information for you, but please, don't worry, I will send you the resources afterwards. I'll share my slide deck with you. So as much as there's lots of information, I hope you can relax and take in and interact as well. So please feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the chat throughout my presentation. But I wanted to start with sharing my gratitude to be joining from Dish with One Spoon, Wampum Belt Covenant land between the Lakes Treaty 3 land, the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, land which has been and continues to be cared for by the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe. And what's alive for me right now is I don't know if anyone here happened to be able to join the Breath of Fresh Air Summit, the outdoor play summit a few weeks ago in Ottawa, Ontario. But I had the beautiful opportunity to meet Elder Norma Peltier there, who was absolutely amazing. And I got to share time with her and learn some plant medicine from her. She's from Wikwemikong First Nation. And she taught us how to make plantain salve, for instance. And while I was in Ottawa, actually, after that conference, I went to a local bookshop and found this incredible book, Revered Roots, and it's also about plant medicine. So I wanted to share this with you because my gratitude is just so full right now for this knowledge in particular and how I can deepen my own relationship to plants. And so this is by Lori Ann Bird. It's available at the Outdoor Learning School and Store. And she's an Indigenous Métis herbalist, and it's absolutely amazing. And something I love about it is that anywhere across Turtle Island that you're joining us, you'd be able to find a lot of these plants, and they're really beautifully displayed on the page. It's really beautiful. It's a beautiful book to hold with lots and lots of beautiful knowledge. So I'm very, very thankful for that right now, and plant medicine, being able to learn Indigenous plant medicine. Jade very graciously and kindly shared a bit about me. I think that the few things I'd love for you to know is just my gratitude for growing up in nature with a really deep nature connection. I was very lucky to grow up in a forest with naturalist parents. And I'm really passionate about helping everyone connect to nature. And I'm a huge bird nerd. So I can never choose a favorite bird myself, but I do pose the question to you. What's your favorite bird? If you want to share it in the chat with me, I'd love to hear. And bonus points if you know what this photo is of. This is a photo from Point Pelee National Park, home of Caldwell First Nation. I go there every spring. This is a green heron. So I am partial to herons. I love herons. Ooh, a waterfall of birds in the chat. Love it. Absolutely love it. Keep sharing, keep sharing. So I will be talking about birds today as a sneak peek, but really what I'll be sharing is why I love teaching about biodiversity and participating in community science with learners, and why I think why there's the benefits of those things, and then some of my favorite resources, ideas, activities. So let's dive right in. So a little refresher, but biodiversity, what does that word really mean? If we break it down, bio means life, diversity means variety. So really it's the variety of living beings within an ecosystem. And in a nutshell, if we think about it or pose this to our learners, the higher the biodiversity, the healthier the ecosystem. Why is that? Of course, those symbiotic relationships between species increase resilience, right? If we think of resiliency. And then biodiversity also enables all those natural cycles that are so, so important. Those natural processes like the water cycle, decomposition, regeneration, new growth, all those wonderful things. If you can think of more benefits of biodiversity, please share them in the chat as well. And then this is a refresher too, as well, I'm sure, but what are the threats to biodiversity? So we think of all the human impacts on the environment, like pollution, habitat loss, invasive species, overharvesting, the climate crisis. And so the tricky thing here, of course, to think about is that negative cycle of if an ecosystem is really healthy and high in biodiversity, it would actually be better equipped to respond to these threats. So the decrease in biodiversity means that also then it's now going to be harder to recover from these threats as well. So why study biodiversity with your learners? So for me, these are 4 big reasons, but please feel free to share more as well. So it's a chance to weave in Indigenous knowledge and ways of knowing. I'll be sharing some really amazing resources with you that talk about interconnectedness, the web of life, reciprocity. And for me, it's also an opportunity to share and learn local Indigenous languages, plant medicine, as I was talking about, Indigenous knowledge from the land I'm teaching on. As well, it's a wonderful way to connect to curriculum. Of course, science curriculum, biodiversity is part of elementary and secondary curriculum across Canada. I'm sure in the States as well. I'm just not as familiar with curricula. But also, to me, it's a beautiful way to integrate different subjects, which we'll get into a little bit as well. It also, you can approach social and emotional learning, nurture that. So for me, the clearest connection is that by celebrating diversity in nature, we can make a connection to celebrating diversity in our human communities, in our classroom or group with our group of learners. And then we, of course, also support learner well-being. We can, when we go outside and we open up our observation and we can see and experience and feel these wonderful, beautiful things in nature, we can inspire awe. And I was recently reading this scientific article about how the feeling of awe is so important to human health, and wonder and curiosity. And really, I think studying biodiversity, as scientifically based as that is, it's also opening up that field of awareness where maybe now learners and educators as well, we hear more, we sense more, and we build our observation skills. And to me, those things in my own practice and journey of that, it actually supports my health and well-being. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful how it integrates so much for me. But please share more oh my gosh, someone mentioned the shoe bill. You have to Google the shoe bill afterwards. I'm just getting caught up on the chat. It's an incredibly unique bird. So Google it afterwards, the shoe bill. I believe they're from Australia, but someone can correct me. But yes, there's lots of other incredible benefits. And I also just wanted to tie in climate education. So studying biodiversity, getting involved in community science can help learners connect to their local ecosystems, assess the health of local ecosystems, discover local threats, environmental impacts of humans, and then also participate in climate action, become leaders in their communities. And I've led programs like this, but really starting with that study of biodiversity on the land and connecting to the land could lead to really beautiful climate action. Okay, so this part's a little tricky for me to share exact resources that are curriculum connected for biodiversity because of course we're joining from all different parts of Turtle Island. So I wanted to highlight two. Learning for Sustainable Future shares this amazing guide for educators around the world by Conservation International. And what I like about how they present it is that you can look for Canadian curriculum connections if you look under the curriculum connection units, and you can look at the grade levels there to see how it might connect to your curriculum. And then the World Wildlife Fund also has teaching about biodiversity toolkits, and they show US curriculum connections. So I wanted to highlight these two, but there's so many out there. I would just suggest trying to get a little more local in your search. So that's why I can't include tons today, because of course, curricula varies so much for us, but check out your local organizations, local to your province, territory, or state. So there's biodiversity networks. There's invasive species councils, there's conservation authorities, environmental ed centers, national parks, provincial parks. There's so many curriculum connected biodiversity lessons already out there. I would just suggest maybe starting your investigation with those types of places. Okay, how to lead a biodiversity study with your learners. So I always start with building a relationship with the land, opening up those senses. So sit spots, nature journaling, mindfulness and sensory awareness activities. Jade is so incredible at leading those grounding activities. So anything that can help ground, open up our senses. Also, another tip is to perhaps check out a field trip with your local environmental ed center where you can see biodiversity studies happening, conservation and action, and really get inspired. Now, for those first things I just mentioned there, I wanted to share 3 amazing resources. Sitting with Nature. So this is Lauren McLean, a good friend of us here, an educator's guide to sit spots. Lana Purcell from Rise Up Indigenous Wellness, also a good friend of ours, is her incredible book, Heartbeat of the Earth. All about connecting children to nature through Indigenous teachings. And then also John Muir-Law's How to Teach Nature Journaling. So Rachel will share these links in the chat, but these are some great resources to start with that connection to land, like I said, and some opening of senses. And then lots of tools. So I started with low tech options. I am going to get into higher tech options here for this set of biodiversity study, but I also love low tech. So what can you throw into a backpack? What can you take out into a green space right now with your learners? Hula hoops. I don't know if anyone's ever tried this before, but you can take a hula hoop and throw it or gently place it in an area and then have learners go in and try to find as many species as they can within that hula hoop. Maybe magnifying glasses will help in that search, or hand lenses if you like those, nets and bug containers, dip nets and bins for any maybe investigating aquatic invertebrates, binoculars, nature journals, pocket ID sheets and field guides, just lots of things you can bring out. And really what we can get learners doing is documenting the number of species they find in any habitat. Maybe you're comparing the biodiversity of 2 different types of habitats, maybe a forest compared to a meadow or savanna type habitat versus a wetland. You can really get into those comparisons and assessing the quality of health. Like I said, more biodiversity, the better, and identifying those potential threats to biodiversity. And in terms of quick and easy field guides or field resources, ones that you can take out, because I love big field guidebooks, but sometimes those aren't the most practical, but you can definitely bring them out too. These are smaller ones that you can fit in your backpack. And so the Outdoor Learning School and Store has tons of laminated field guides that are foldable on different, focused on different species and families. So you can get those. Anishinaabe bird names is Joe Pitawanakwat from Crater Garden Birds put this together along with Andreas and Junaid, who I've had a chance to spend time with, and they're all amazing. And it's an amazing resource sharing Anishinaabemowin bird names and also knowledge. If you're like me and on more the eastern side of North America, there's also the Turtle Island Conservation. This is the one in the middle. They have these incredible reptile and amphibian guides, identifier sheets that are in Ojibwe or Mohawk. We also have Pacific Northwest Plant Knowledge cards. And this is from the Mi'kmaq Cultural Foundation. They also have plant medicine cards where you can learn names in Mi'kmaq if maybe you're on quite the east coast of Canada. So lots and lots of resources, but these are great because these can really engage learners where they're going outside, they're looking for different species, and they can look right into these guides and try to identify what they're seeing as well. Okay, great. And then higher tech. Okay, so this is where technology gets a little more involved. So what I'm going to focus on are all free apps, and you can use them on your phone, on a tablet, or you can use them on the computer. And I will talk a little bit about the differences here, but I do want to remind you that as amazing as this technology is getting, it isn't 100% accurate. So for instance, if you're identifying a plant using any of this technology, you would want to definitely get it backed up by experts or with other, more than one resource. For instance, if you were going to cook with it or anything like that, there's not 100% accuracy. But to me, that's a good thing. That means we still need our critical thinking skills. We still need to think about context and learn, but these can be tools for us, which to me is exciting. Okay, one of my favorites. Has anyone ever used the Merlin app? Oh yes, someone is also getting points. Jen's getting points for going ahead. Seek app, I will be talking about that. Merlin app is amazing if you don't have it yet. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology, my favorite as a bird nerd, have lots of amazing resources, but the Merlin app is free. If you can see here, this is a screenshot from the app on my phone. You have a few different ways to identify birds here, and students love it, especially that sound ID. If you click the sound ID, it starts to record the sounds around you, and you can see this in the right image, which is also a screenshot from my phone. And it makes a spectrogram. So it has a visual representation of the sounds, and that's how it matches what it identifies it to be hearing. So it's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty accurate, and it's lots of fun. It starts to list the birds as it hears it. And they go yellow when the birds are actively singing. And if you have it set up, you can record these and return to the recordings as well. So highly recommend using this with learners. They love it. It's engaging. You can also do photo ID, which I have to admit, I haven't done that much within Merlin, but step-by-step ID is also lots of fun. It asks you questions and context clues. And for instance, where you are, what you saw the bird doing, what were the main colors on it, and then it gives you a list of the potential birds in your area. So that's fun because that's a bit of a bird mystery. I like to pose it like that with learners. Okay, what about iNaturalist? Has anyone used iNaturalist here? It's my favorite way to identify plants that maybe I don't know, or fungi, mushrooms, things like that on my phone very easily and very good. It's still not 100% either, but it's very, very good. So I will get into the community science part of it very soon. I also realized when I was preparing this that I have the original version of the app, which is now called the classic version. So there is a more up-to-date version of the app, which you can download either. But for the classic one, really quickly, this is what my opening page might look like. You can click observe, and then you can upload a photo. You can take it live. You can upload it from your photos. So I uploaded this beautiful picture of Michigan lily, one of my favorite native wildflowers from where I am. Then if you click this "What did you see?" button, what comes up is a list of options. And I've heard the statistics that 70% of the time it's the first species listed. So here, Michigan lily, and it might even have better statistics now. And then what's really fun is you can get experts to verify what that ID is correct. And once 2 experts who are in the iNaturalist community have verified it, it becomes research grade, which means it can be used in research, your observation. We'll get a bit more into the community science part, but that's really exciting to me. And I also really appreciate that if it's a more threatened or endangered species, for instance, or sensitive species, you can obscure your location. You don't have to use an exact location. So just good to know that in terms of maybe not wanting to publicly advertise a more threatened species, right? And then this is what the new version looks like of the app, and it's actually even more simple. So feel free to check out this more updated version of it. You just click on this, upload a photo, and then it even gave me the statistics. It's 89.9% confident it's a Michigan lily. Pretty cool. I don't know how they're generating that statistic. Yes, Jody, the PlantNet app, I've heard good things about as well. Yes, so check it out. And then Seek, somebody mentioned Seek. This is really great for our youngest learners because it's a little more simple. It also has a bit more engagement. It's really aimed at children. You can earn badges when you submit your your observations. So this is what it looks like. Very, very simple to use. It also tells you the local species. I'm in Guelph, as you can see, so it's listing local observations. And the big differences between iNaturalist and Seek is that iNaturalist observations are public. So if you're really thinking about especially children's data and information, Seek observations stay on the device. So if you're giving them tablets to take photos, for instance, that's not getting out into the public. So that's a good safety precaution with younger children. iNaturalist observations include, some of your data, your username, the location. You can't obscure it, where Seek doesn't use any of that. Now, you can sync the 2 accounts if you wanted to. So you can log in under your name and Seek if you wanted to link it to your iNaturalist account. But it's good because it does separate it out for our learners. It also doesn't require the internet. Seek has those badges to increase engagement, and it's a little simpler to use. So they're both great app options. And I should mention Seek is made by iNaturalist. So they're very much connected. Okay, so now we're getting into community science. You've maybe gone out and started to identify some species around you, some of the plants and animals and fungi. And so why not contribute what you've seen to scientists and to the community? So community science means we get to share and document our nature observations, and we can not only learn more, but we can connect with those expert naturalists. We can track migration patterns of birds. We can help protect rare or threatened species. We can contribute to wildlife monitoring, which would lead to conservation efforts, potentially contribute new discoveries, which is super exciting to me, and help grow communities of science and naturalists and stewards all together. So this is the web browser version of iNaturalist. And I just wanted to show you, you can go on right now or after this session and go to iNaturalist.org and look on the map function, and you can zoom in on your area. So this is near me in Guelph, and you can see that each of these little flags, would you call them? They are observations submitted by somebody in your area, and you can click on them. You can see up here, this is the legend. So it's color coded. So you can see that blue includes most animals, but red includes mollusks, arachnids, and insects. Green is plants, pink is fungi, and you can click on them and see the observations. But it's really, really, this is also engaging with learners to have a look at your local area, see what's out there, see the observations people are putting in. Another favorite, I mentioned I was a bird nerd, is eBird. So eBird's another community science tool. You can use the phone app. Again, it's free to submit checklists. So you can start a checklist. If you want it to record you, it will record how long you're birding and how far you walk. And then you click off the observations as you go. It tracks how many species, you submit it, and it goes on eBird. So like iNaturalist, you can look at it on a map with your students. You can see different bird observations in your area. It's like iNaturalist, but focused specifically on birds. And something I love to do with eBird is look at where particular species are at different times. This is a way of tracking migration. And I get really excited about this in the spring when birds are coming back that have migrated south and are coming back. And so, for instance, you can get into a local or a specific species. For instance, I looked up turkey vultures between August and November last year. This is all the observations between August and November of last year. Now, I'm going to show you the same year, but now December to February. Can you see the differences? I'll go back. So you can see that migration down. The purple is extending up into Canada, but then they migrate out of Canada and turkey vultures go down for the winter. So this one's lots and lots of fun. Okay, I know I'm taking a lot of time. Jade, should I call it or okay to do a couple more things?
Do it. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so lastly, I wanted to touch on BioBlitzes. What are BioBlitzes? They're really people working together to identify as many species as possible in a set location over a set period of time. These can be super fun and engaging for learners because they're a bit of a challenge, right? So some existing ones, it's really easy to find out ones on iNaturalist projects. So if you go to the iNaturalist webpage and look under projects, for instance, when I looked today, there was a Great Southern BioBlitz, Africa, Oceania, and South America. Amazing. And you can find ones in your area. You can also make your own iNaturalist project. That's a whole other tutorial, but you can find these things on iNaturalist, how to do these things. That's an easy way to do a BioBlitz. There's also iNaturalist works with Canadian Wildlife Federation to have a city nature challenge every April. So this could be a really fun one if you're working in a city, teaching in a city to participate in perhaps next year, all those observations together. The Jane Goodall Institute has an amazing BioBlitz classroom guide, which Rachel will kindly share the link with if you want to start your own BioBlitz in your community and really set a date, a location, and get as many of those nature observations as you can. A couple more to mention that are annual. Birds Canada puts on a Christmas bird count for kids. I wish they would update the name to be Winter Bird Count for Kids. I acknowledge that that is not an inclusive name, but they haven't updated it yet. But this does have a long history, and they do have amazing resources for kids where you can do bird tallies and then use an app called Nature Counts to submit your data. But I've done this with kids, very, very engaging and fun to do in the winter. And then lastly, Project Feeder Watch is another big annual community science bird project. Birds Canada, Cornell Lab of Ornithology. You've heard me mention both of those, November to April every year. They have an app, you can learn more, really fun to participate in as well and submit your data in. Okay. That was a lot of information. I wanted to give you as much as I could, but yeah, really just wanting to encourage you to get out there with your learners, get to know the land. I'll be sharing those resources afterwards, but all the best. And sorry for taking up so much time, Jade.
It was fantastic. It all needed to happen. And so lovely to see there's lots of folks not using that. And maybe if you are using it, to just already or know about it, to get really diving into it. Thank you so much, Julie. That was epic. Lots of amount of information. All right, I'm going to dive in. And last week I forgot to do the draw because I got so excited that we just left. We did do random selections and emailed people. Sorry about that, but we stick to the end. We do have prizes at the end. Hopefully Rachel can, before I hit end, can remind me to actually do them. But I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you about taking science outdoors in another couple of different ways. Okay, in the chat, anyone know what these are? You might actually have a chance to read it at the bottom. Maybe you know what one of them is. Seeds, great guess. These are fossils, I should state, but of what? Wings, turtle scoots. Nice. I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to keep going. Germs. Nice, good try. These are microscopic bivalve crustaceans called ostracod. Ostracoda is the technical term when they are plural. This is what I did my thesis on. These are my little friends. They live in every water source on Earth. They are both an extinct and extant species, so they have been around since about 350 million years before present. Ostracods, they are a bivalve carapace. You'll see a little video of one in a minute, so when they're alive. But they live in really strict, extreme environmental control. So for example, H, really only likes to live in very, very cold fresh water. And the ones like Limnocephali species are saline only. And these nodes, those decorations on the shell, happen when temperature and water changes. And why do I care about these? Because they're fascinating. Okay, so one of my big things for taking science outdoors is first, you got to hook them inside. You got to have something. I play this game with students, grade 7 and above. What is this? What do you think it is? Even with younger students, they're inquisitive, inquiry-based minds, and get them thinking about it. Of course, this is just one side. A carapace means there are two, so it's actually looks like a mini mussel. But most of these are sub 1 millimeter, right? So I did a lot of looking through a microscope and picking them up with paintbrushes. Why are they so exciting? Oh, I'm going to show you this. This is so fun. So this is a cardinal fish spitting out an ostracod. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's alive. It's got this little sort of floaty, flappy wings. This is them zipping around. Some of them are bigger, a couple of mil big, some of them are tiny, but they are bioluminescent. So this cardinal fish is spitting them out that's their food. Okay, we'll stop the sharing there. They get very excited. But the cardinal fish is spitting them out to avoid being a predator, to avoid being predated, I should say, and the distraction of the bioluminescence of the ostracod allows it to get away. So these are the things I'm playing in classrooms to get kids started, right? Someone talked about live bird cams. You can find them on Cornell's website as well, right? I'm having a full projector size of a bird's nest live. So when students come in, don't say anything, just having something interesting there. Even a BBC documentary. They are like diatoms, Megan. Exactly. Diatoms and ostracods go hand in hand in the fossil record. We used both. And it's very exciting. And you can find them in puddles, from the greatest oceans to the tiniest puddle, and you really don't need a massive magnification to see them. Those pictures were with a scanning electron microscope that I had to send to Belgium to get, but you can see them under a regular microscope. And this book, okay, I want to talk to you because science is colonial. And, I am a big believer in science, but Indigenous science has existed way before, as it has in other traditional and Indigenous populations across the world. And so this is one of my favorite books. This is Groundswell. This is Indigenous Knowledge and a Call to Action for Climate Change. With heaps of other Indigenous science books, Dr. Gregory Kaheti, for example, but I just wanted to read that. This comes from one of the chapters. It's part storybook, part essay, part leadership, and this is what I'll also use as a hook. I'll read this before we start. Larry Emerson wrote this chapter. You can also find a video of him talking in the link that's going in here. And Larry Emerson said, he's the name man. He said, we all have heartbeats, drink water and breathe air, no matter whether we're Democrat or Republican, Native, white, African, Asian, or Latino. No matter our sexual orientation, gender, religion, age, or generation, all of us have to restore ourselves indigenously to situate ourselves as balanced and harmonious life beings in relation to other life beings on the earth. At some point, we are all deeply indigenous. We have just forgotten and separated ourselves from our true identity. So there is never a point that I am doing what I would call Eurocentric Western science, which is valid, right? The scientific method is valuable, it is taught in curriculum, it is centered, and if you have students who are going into higher education, they will be expected to know it and follow it. And Indigenous ways of being have shaped our knowledge. So, for example, where I live in Secwepemcúlecw, the Secwepemc people spotted grizzly bear out harvesting camas roots, right? It was one of their greatest food sources, particularly in the fall. It stores well. And the stories that came down from the Ignatius family to me through the work of ethnobotanist Dr. Nancy Turner, grizzly bear was out. They would see grizzly bear digging roots, and then at some point they watched him dig the roots and then would leave them all out in the sun to bake. And the folks would watch it, and this knowledge was passed down over millennia, was that camas roots are highly toxic when they're first dug, but if you leave them to bake in the sun, if they're heated, then those toxic chemicals transform and it's gone. It's the same with black lichen that is eaten and cooked in pit stoves by many of the indigenous nations where I am in the interior. So they watched the environment, they lived in relationship with it, and it's still true to this day. And there's a lot of fantastic indigenous science going on, and it should be incorporated simultaneously. Okay, I'm going to give you one other thing because I have to show this to everyone because it is the coolest thing that I have ever seen. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, Earth.null school. Anyone? I actually can't see the chat right now. Hang on, I'll bring it up. Scrolling. Okay. Here we go. So this, my friends, is planet Earth from the sky. This is an amalgamation of a multitude of satellite photography, weather modeling from all of the top organizations that you can imagine doing space science. NOAA, NASA, all of the British space folks. Okay, so here we are. I am the little green dot, right? This is Vancouver Island, and depends where you are. So here, what we're looking at right now is surface wind. So you can see when I zoom out, you can demonstrate something like the Coriolis effect, right? Which is where, as our Earth rotates, the winds that start at the equator get deflected as the Earth spins. So we get this anti-clockwise, anti-cyclonic in the northern hemisphere, and you can show them down here in the southern hemisphere. Now it is clockwise. Okay, that is caused by the Earth spinning, right? So that's a pretty tricky concept that can be really, really well organized. Okay, you can zoom in. Now what I'm going to do is you can also do currents. So an interesting thing, right? So if we're teaching science with a connection to indigenous ways of knowing and being, that is reflexive, it is culturally appropriate, it is told through story. So what about the story for me of coming from this island over here in England, and it's on the same latitude, right, as where I am right now, basically, even a little bit further north, okay? What do we know as latitudes get higher north? That we get colder, we have less solar insolation or energy coming from the sun because it's centered around the equator. So why do I get 30 feet, 10 meters of snow over here, and England barely gets a glimmer? My mum is devastated by this, barely gets a glimmer of snow anymore. Oh, wait, what's this swirly, whirly mass of things happening over here? Okay, that's the Gulf Stream. Okay, that is the Earth ocean current that comes from the Gulf of Mexico across the Atlantic all the way across to England. That is where we get this lovely, lovely warm temperature. So that's a very, very powerful thing for us to have, and it keeps us toasty, toasty warm. Okay, I want to show you one more thing. So down here you can have height. These weird numbers are called kilopascals, okay? If you convert it, and on the home page, you don't have to be a knowledgeable scientist to do this. There is a whole description of all the different information. But 250 kilopascals is about 7 to 10, depending on the day, kilometers up into space. And I'm going to go to wind. Anyone in the chat can tell me what that atmospheric river of fast flowing, and that red is temperature, right? So that's heat and energy. Anybody know what that red thing is? It's 7 kilometers up in the sky. That's where aeroplanes fly, by the way. Yes, Timothy, winner, winner. And Randy, well done. It's the jet stream. Okay, so here you can start to show people why prevailing winds happen, right? That west to east, they get dragged with friction with that. Also, if you go down here into the southern hemisphere, this is what causes the monsoon. So you can do a really cool comparison if you have anyone who has culture or connection to places where they have monsoon. Actually, what happens in the monsoon season is this jet stream gets split. You can do a comparison, so you can look at this seasonally. That jet stream gets split north and south of the main Andes range, and that northern part gets ferried across, this northern part of the jet stream centers over India, and that's where you get the jet stream from. So this was just something I really, really quickly wanted to show you, because I will start there. I will start with this science. I will start by giving them something to look at, and then we're going to go outside and be like, okay, so what can we do actually, students in the world? Oh my gosh. Okay, we can teach really hardcore science. This is for some older students, admittedly. You can also do this with younger students too. Right here, I've got all the different greenhouse gases that exist in our atmosphere. You might see water vapor, CFCs, ozone, okay, separate from the ozone layer. But here we are in a local area outside, and I've got them, given them, and they have to order themselves in terms of how much of it exists within our atmosphere right now based on current information. And then after that, what we then do is we have them rearranged based on what impact you think it is, because some of them, there's not a lot of it in the atmosphere, but it has a very high impact. And some of them we have much more of like carbon dioxide, but it actually has less global warming or potential GWP than some of the other ones. And getting them thinking about it, where does those things mostly come from? Does it come from industry? Does it come from cars? And it's really important for people to be able to decipher that. And they love doing this outside. It keeps them busy, it keeps them interested. I'm a massive proponent. We know that climate change anxiety, we know that anxiety about the world is a thing for our young people. So we collaborated with our local municipality. The signs for no idling outside the school were so worn down by weather that they weren't visible anymore. We wrote to the city and said, hey, can we replace the signs? And they said, yes, but it has to be in a certain size and it has to look like this. And I said, okay, send me a template. Okay. Then all of these students who were much more comfortable showing their art than their faces, they made these designs. It went to a massive school-wide vote. And these students got to design it. But also what we did as part of that was set up an air quality meter, which we got some funding from the school to set up an air quality index meter right outside the school so they could track it. They were making and collecting data right outside the school building. So maybe you live in an urban environment, maybe it's not all mountains, lakes and streams, but you can still collect fantastic data. Same goes if you're looking at birds and you want to do a BioBlitz, you can do it within your schoolyard, whatever that looks like. But these kind of projects really get students feeling like they're important. If you've got little ones, this is a really old picture of me because I was wearing a mask in COVID, but I love this picture because this is a grandmother tree, and this class, we visit this tree seasonally, and in fact we visit it every week at that point, and now the teacher's doing it independently, but we are visiting with this tree every single week. We're tracking what changes do we see, what colors do we see, what happens above, what do we see below. This is a place where each child has a sit spot, and we track it. We measure the circumference, we measure the temperature. Very cheap thermometers available. We measure the temperature directly under the tree in the shade and then in the middle of the school field and do a comparison. And if your students are too young to write that data down, firstly, they can orally give that to you so you can use that as assessment. Do you understand the difference between the shade and why that might be helpful for the other beings that live in the forest? If they're too young to process that data themselves, send it up to grade 7, send it up to grade 8 or 9 when they actually have to start doing data collection and analysis, and ask them to track the diurnal temperature change. Get the kids to measure it at first thing in the morning, and then at the end of lunch, track the diurnal temperature change of your schoolyard in comparison with somewhere where there's shade as opposed to no shade, and utilize that to understand the well-being and climate resilience of your school. How long do we spend taking these measurements regularly? It's about an hour. We'll spend about an hour outside. That would be my recommendation. But if you've only got 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, that will also work. We collect it in a book. If your students are not writing yet, we'll collect it in a one group book. But my recommendation is as soon as they're writing, even if it's a piece of paper on a clipboard, name, date, sky cover, how many clouds, getting them working out basic percentages using a grid like this is more than half or less than half covered with sky or clouds. Okay, you can do fantastic things with oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. I might have to record the rest of this for you, friends, and put it, I'll record it and put it in our resource page because I have so much to share with you and we won't get there. But one of the greatest things you can do is to boil jacket potatoes, wrap them in foil. You could bake them the night before and put them in a lunch pail or something. You bring them to school. You give kids an array of materials. Do you have any real fur? Great if you do. Mittens, modern mittens, scarf, gloves, and each student has to try and keep their potato as warm as possible. So we measure the potato before we hide it. Then we hide the potato. If you have deep snow, they can hide it in there. They have to remember where the potato is. That's part of the challenge. Being a scientist, observing and making a note and making a map of where you've hidden your potato. And then you measure the potato after 30 minutes, and you can look at the insulative properties of various materials, including snow or natural materials or modern things. And because you've taken it at the beginning and the end, you can do a comparison and you can work out what the average loss was and what was most effective at reducing heat loss. You can do this with 6-year-olds, and they will understand the science of, oh my goodness, there is a thermal property. It's blooming fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 meter. This bird's nest fell out of the sky. It fell out of the sky. And so we did a whole lot of observing. We started to use our literacy skills. Is it soft? It was actually quite weighty, this bird's nest. We looked for birds, we looked for eggs, we couldn't find any. This student, who it turns out was really struggling and join this school, but it turns out that this student was actually deaf. And we discovered through doing exercises like this that they were deaf, because when they couldn't look at us, we couldn't see the mouth moving, then there was no, the comprehension wasn't happening. So circle like this can be a great way as well to observe your students. Are they connected? Are they listening? Anywho, and then we made birds' nests, and I went out and I got them chocolate eggs and I hid them in the nests. Okay, friends, I'm only halfway through, so I'm going to record the rest of it for you. And I will switch back to gallery. I'm going to record the rest of it. I'm going to put it on the recordings page. I'm going to record it right now so that we can all see it. So there's some various other things for different ages and activities for you to take out and go and do things. Yes, you study it yourself. Fantastic. Okay, we've got to do prizes, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Go buy Court's book. Go engage in resources, particularly ones that come from non-profit charitable places like us. Okay, 4 winners. Here we go. First winner, Olena, Olena, Telishchak, Telishchak, Olena Telishchak. You're our first winner, $25 to the Outdoor Learning Store. Boom. Second winner, Sia Aronica, Siaronica, Sia Aronica. You are our second winner of $25, the Outdoor Learning Store. We've got 2 Take Me Outside winners coming up. Annette Hoskins, Annette, Hoskins, Hoskins. Annette Hoskins, you're a winner of a Take Me Outside. We will find you through your registration and we will send you an email with a link. Okay, last one, Jumping Moon. Oh, I'm sorry, you won last week. You have. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We're gonna pick another winner for fairness. Okay, Mallory Nettleton, Mallory Nettleton. Mallory Nettleton, you are our 4th and final winner. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go and record that extra bit for you. Well, everything will be up in the recordings and resource page tomorrow. You'll get a follow-up email by 12 p.m. Pacific, link to the resources page. Everything will be there for you. And you can get a link to get your certificate as well. We appreciate every one of you for being here. Have a wonderful evening.